Hello, college gymnastics fans. It is Rhiannon Frank for College Gym News, your favorite resident NCAA judge, here to give you a little clinic in bars basics. So I have a list here of some of the general tricks and the general formula for bar routines. First off, they will always have at least two releases. This is a requirement. One will be a low to high or a high to low bar release, which are between the bar releases, and a second release will either be another between the bar or a single bar release, meaning they let go of the high bar and then they re-catch the high bar. So you'll definitely see at least two releases. They will all change direction at least once, meaning that they'll have a pirouette or a turn in handstand, or they'll do some sort of release with a turn. For example, some of the skills like a ginger, a shoot over, or a shapash half. A dismount with a twist does not meet this requirement. They will also mostly do a double flipping dismount of some sort. The double back tucked is the easiest one, and because it's easier, most of them will precede it by a giant full or a full turn blind full into their double tuck so that they don't get a compositional deduction. But for the most part, you'll see double layouts, full twisting double tucks, toe on, or front giant, double front. You will sometimes see the toe on front, which is a single flip, and otherwise they mostly do double flips to get their difficulty requirements. A lot of them do circling skills as well to get bonus points. Circling skills are where they come in close to the bar, go around the bar, and then finish in a handstand. They can do this in 4 different positions: a clear circle, a toe on, a stalter, or an in bar. And then not listed is the giant swing, which is just the straight body from a handstand on the high bar all the way around to handstand again. And this happens either forwards or backwards. When you see a release, this skill changes based on the body entry shape, so whatever circling skill entry shape they do, as well as the body shape in flight, so you either a straddle, pike, or a straight body. There are a lot of different names for these skills. Every time there's a different variation, you can name it after yourself if you do it at a world championship. So a lot of these are named after famous elite gymnasts. It's hard to keep track sometimes. So if you don't know the name but you want to explain what they're doing, a safe way to do it is just to describe the shape of the body when they enter it, the body position, and then the type of release. So I have some examples down here. Like a toe-on layout Tkachev is also called a Nabieva, but you can also call it a toe-on layout Tkachev, and everyone can see what that looks like, visualize it, and know what you're talking about. If you want to be super proficient, you can memorize and look up some of the named skills. I put the link in this presentation. It's at thebalancebeamsituation.com. They have a really great dictionary about the different Tkachev and shapash names because they're all very similar skills with different names. So here I've illustrated the different circle varieties next to each other so you can compare them. On the left, we have the free hip or the clear circle where the body stays, the body comes in close to the bar, stays straight, and then goes up to handstand. We have the toe on where the toes come into the bar and then shoot up to handstand. We have the stalter, which is a free straddle position under the bar and then up to handstand, but the toes do not touch the bar. And then we have an in bar, which is a pike position. It's kind of like a toe on and a stalter. You pike, but you pass through the bar into a pike. In bar and stalter are harder than the toe on and the clear hip. You'll also see a variety of pirouettes, and obviously you can do this from any type of entry or circle. So I have the giant swing, the giant half, and the giant full are very common pirouettes that you will see. Also the toe on half or the toe on full, and there's also an example of a stalter full, sorry, not a stalter half, on the far right. And these are done for gymnasts to help meet their change of direction requirement, as well as if they're swinging backwards and now they need to do a forward skill, then they will need to do some sort of giant half or half turning pirouette, or to just turn around to face the other direction. You can also do pirouettes from a cast, and that's a little bit different technique sometimes, and you can also do pirouettes after a handstand which is called the Healy technique, which I'm not covering here because it's not quite as common. But if you want to look into that, you certainly can. Okay, these are all of the different Shavasana variations. So the original Shavasana is on the left. It is a clear free hip to reverse swing, catch the high bar. If you do that with a half turn, it is called a Horkina. If you do it as a stalter, it is called a chow. If you do it as a toe-on, it is called a Maloney, which we see a lot. And if you do it as a toe-on half, it is called a Maloney half or a Van Leeuwen. All of those are correct. You can also do a Stalter half if you want. So you can really use any of the combinations of the circles with or without a half turn. And you'll see all of these in NCAA to transition from the low to the high bar. We also have some other between bar releases that are pretty common. These are from high to low. So we have the pack salto, which is kind of like a half flip from the high to the low bar. We have a shoot over or an overshoot or a bail. They're all the same skill, just different names, which is a swing down, half turn to handstand. We have the pack full or the bahard wash, which is like a full twisting pack salto or a shoot over half turn. We have the straddle back half turn, which is a Yetsova. You can also just do a straddle back without the half turn, but it's not worth very much, so we don't see it very much in the NCAA. And then there's another low to high bar release, which is just a toe hack to the high bar on the bottom right corner. And you can also do that from, I've seen it from a stalter as well. So now we're going to switch gears and talk about some of the single bar releases. So Tkachevs are very common, and again, these can vary by shape in the air as well as the type of circle. So I have an example of a straddle shape on the left, a pike shape, as well as a laid out shape. They can also be done by any of the 4 entries with like a clear hip. So if you do a clear hip straddle Tkachev, that's called a Hindorf. You can do it as a toe-on like you see on the right, or you can do it in a Stalder shape or an in-bar shape as well. We also see a lot of Jaegers. So this is an example on the left. You can do it straddled or piked. There isn't elites that can do some laid out Jaegers, but I have not seen them in the NCAA yet. And that is just a front swing, front flip, catch the bar. We also have Delchevs and Gingers. These can look very similar, so I put them side by side so you can kind of see the difference. The Delchev can be done straddled or piked. If you look, the Delchev does a half turn and looks kind of like a Jaeger almost, a half turn into a Jaeger, whereas the Ginger looks more of almost side rotation. And what I do is I watch the athlete's toes. When they let go on the Delchev, they go up, they turn upside down, and then they do a full forward flip to go back. If you watch on the Ginger, the toes kind of go sideways across the high bar like a rainbow in almost like a windshield wiper motion rather than the half turn front flip. It kind of looks more like they're reaching across their body, around their body to hit to grab the bar again. And the athlete doesn't fully invert, so they're not fully upside down in a Ginger where they are in the Delchev. So that's one way to tell the difference between those skills. And then some other single bar releases that you might see that are more uncommon, but are done sometimes. We have the Horkina, which is kind of like, starts kind of like a Jaeger, and you do a half turn, and you end it kind of like a Tkachev. And you can see a really nice one on the left. We have a cast hop, which does count as a release, and you can miss it sometimes, but where they just go from a front grip to a reverse grip during a cast. But since there is like flight, it does count as a flight skill or release. And then we have the Komenich, which is basically a Jaeger, straddle Jaeger from a cast, which is very difficult to do, but it is. I have seen it done, I think, once in NCAA. And that is all I have for this clinic. So I hope it was helpful and you learned something. If you have questions, drop them in the comments and I'll address them as best I can. And I hope this helped you get ready for season.